Hello, everyone. This is the East Coast Economic Update for July the 30th, 2010. Just a couple things I want to throw at you that I saw this morning, first on Bloomberg and then also on Google News. First, that the Bloomberg announces that the recession in the United States was worse than first thought because of revisions they've been doing. Oh, for the last 1.5 years, they're just revising most of those items now. Well, anyway, you can look at the article, but the brief is that in some cases, this recession is even worse than the 1930 Great Depression. So, for all those people who have been saying in the mainstream media that we're pessimist porn stars or whatever you want to call us, the government, of course, has now admitted two things. One, that it lies, which we knew, and two, that the recession is worse and really is a depression. But they wouldn't say that. But you can read the evidence for yourself and make your own decision. Also, it just shows that they're still revising the material. It only goes as far back as 2009. We're not even counting 2010 because they said, "Oh, well, the recovery is baked in the cake." That's what I think of that. Also, next item is that the GDP of the United States economy, which is a bogus GDP number, if you really want to see what the real GDP is, go on shadowstats.com, which will be there. I want to quote this. Hold on for 1 second. That the economy expanded only by 2.4%, but the trade gap continues to widen. Also from Bloomberg. What you've discovered, or what you discover in this article, is that we're not producing anything. Duh. Except massive amounts of debt, and people are not buying it, or they're buying less and less of it to prevent, a shockwave. China's absorbing all its production pretty much. That has been noted in my last video, that the Chinese are basically buying their own shit, and that's what we did in 1907, and that's what made us the world's greatest superpower, because we had the productive capacity. We could outproduce anyone, regardless, whether it's clothing, guns, bullets, bombs, planes, you name it. We could produce it, and the great thing is if we made too much of it, it would absorb back into the economy because people had the buying power, because we had that secret ingredient that makes every great empire a middle class, which is now pretty much gone. Thirdly, which I found very interesting, was right after the Case-Shiller index that I gave you on the 27th. Metropolitan areas, the majority, about 85% of the large metropolitan cities, are showing a foreclosure increase of 75%. That's on top of the world's worst foreclosure rates, which is in the first article about the recession, and that only goes back to 2009. So these green shoots are obviously green weeds, and they're choking out whatever kind of growth we could have. My last thought is this, and I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to keep repeating this until it actually happens. Unfortunately, my guess is that it's not going to happen until 2017, maybe 2020, which is this. Until monies are focused on individual people. Now, I'm not saying giving out welfare checks. What I'm saying is creating jobs and then handing, if the government really wanted to create, and I'm not promoting socialism, but if they wanted to create a recovery, they would have gotten people to work. Psychological, don't forget, 70% of our GDP is consumption. That is completely now collapsed, though no one will say it out loud. I did, and many others here on YouTube do. Second of all, if you give somebody a job, they have a psychological feeling that they have security, and they will spend some of their extra cash, even if they don't have it, on the economy. I'm not a big fan of FDR, but one of the smartest things he did do was create the WPA, which was an offshoot of the NRA, which is the National Recovery Administration. He created jobs, he created hydroelectric businesses, and then handed them over either to the state, local governments, or sold them to private industry and made a small profit. Now, The downside of that, of course, is that when FDR did this, we had a huge surplus, a gigantic surplus from taxes and, well, not necessarily taxes, but from customs stamp taxes and also a high tariff. We were very protectionist, what we referred to as mercantilist, for many years. Now it's considered a bad word. We need to become protectionist again. We need to bring back and start buying back that infrastructure we've sold so easily for pennies on the dollar, to from China and other countries, or rebuild it. We do have natural resources, and unfortunately, if somebody could please define to me what a green job is, I'd really like to know what it is, because I don't think it exists. Because if there is such a thing as a green job, we'd all have solar panels on the tops of buildings here in New York and everywhere else. There would be people climbing all over the place, putting up solar panels and updating our hydroelectric systems and building nuclear power plants. And this is not happening. I don't see green jobs. This is bogus. Now, I know it's a political ploy, but everything in every major administration is. But ultimately, what keeps the government, keeps the people happy, is the fact that they are paid and they have a sense of security about their job. This is not happening unless you're a banker or you work on a hedge fund in Wall Street. Then you feel fairly secure that no matter how screwed up you may do, you could basically throw money out your window and you're guaranteed that the government will come and give you replacement money for the $1 that you threw out the window, which is continuing to do right now. The state of New York is insolvent, and because we have a lame duck governor, that nobody's paying attention to it. So just want to leave those thoughts out for you. Recovery ain't a recovery unless people are employed. And also, one other thing, next week is the U3 numbers, is the unemployment numbers. I don't know if I've said this before on YouTube, but I'm saying it now. From this point forward, or at least from April forward, you should not be looking at the U3 number. You should be looking at the U6 number. And once again, look on shadow stats, and you'll see that it's not going down. It's either going up, plateauing, and then going up again. It is not going down, even though the U3 number is trailing back because the numbers lie. And as you can see on the first article, you are going to see people covering their ass from what they call litigiousness here in New York, being sued by saying, oh, well, we adjusted the numbers. They're the real numbers 18 months later. If you're an investor, if you're Joe Blow the investor, which you should not be in the markets, by the way, this is a disaster for you. Because if you're basing everything on government numbers or on government information, you've now lost even more money. Because they've said, oh, the recession's in, Mr. Summers says. But then turn around and you see that when Mr. Summers was talking out his ass, he knew he was lying, which, he'll probably be pardoned before he leaves the administration. So anyway, I left those items up for you. I hope you're as outraged as I am. But, I've gotten to the point on the five levels. I'm now here at acceptance. I know that they're going to continue to lie to us, and I know that by the fall we're going to see another step down. How far, God only knows. All right, folks, peace, and for those of you who are observing, good Shabbos.